Imagine for a second that you're setting this strict, like, 10-year corporate-style deadline for yourself.
Huh?
But you're not trying to, make $1 million or launch a startup or even run a marathon. You are setting a 10-year deadline to literally, quote, find God.
Yeah, which just sounds like a total paradox, doesn't it?
Totally.
I mean, taking this really sterile, hypermetric-driven mentality of a boardroom and applying it to something completely intangible like spiritual enlightenment.
Right, exactly. And that exact paradox is what we are exploring in today's deep dive.
Like a wild one today.
It really is. We have this fascinating stack of sources to go through: personal logs, chat records, and synthesized notes from a project called The Legacy Builder.
Mm-hmm.
And they document the 30-year professional and spiritual journey of a man named Murty.
Yeah, we're basically looking at the ultimate collision of worlds here.
Like, what happens when a hardcore, scientifically minded rationalist applies, rigorous skepticism to ancient yoga practices?
And this isn't just some abstract biography either. It is a highly detailed, methodical approach to a problem that, honestly, most of you listening probably struggle with daily.
Oh, for sure. The noise of the modern world.
Exactly. We live in this incredibly noisy era.
Yeah.
Right? And we are constantly trying to force our brains into deep focus. But Murty didn't just want focus.
No, he wanted to experience what he called the highest superconsciousness.
Right. And because he documented his process so meticulously, his journey serves as this highly unconventional blueprint for hacking human attention.
And capability, yeah. So let's start with the origin of that blueprint, a phase that he literally labeled Project God.
Such a great name.
Right. So Murty is 17 years old when this begins. And he comes from a wealthy, highly ethical, socially and politically active business family.
Right. They're already community leaders.
Exactly. So he notes in his logs that he doesn't have anything to prove to the world, financially or socially.
Which is really important because it strips away the usual motivations for seeking, like, spiritual escape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's not running from anything.
Exactly. He isn't driven by some desperate personal tragedy, and he certainly isn't driven by blind devotion. He actually doesn't have a background of faith at all.
Which is the craziest part to me. His catalyst is purely intellectual.
Right. He reads this text about the physiological dangers of practicing advanced yoga without a proper guide, and his takeaway isn't fear.
It's curiosity.
Yeah, scientific curiosity.
Yeah.
He basically decides to treat spirituality as a highly controlled science experiment.
Giving himself that 10-year deadline to achieve, like, verifiable results.
Exactly.
I mean, it is the equivalent of trying to schedule a mystical revelation on a Gantt chart.
Yeah.
Like deliverable, super consciousness, due date, Q4 1998.
That's exactly what it's like.
You really have to wonder how an ancient tradition handles that level of corporate impatience.
Well, normally a traditional system would just reject that mindset entirely, like, come back when you're ready to surrender.
Well, right.
But right before his 10-year deadline expires, Murty meets his guru, a man named Raparti Ramarao. And the irony of this meeting is just profound.
Because Ramarao isn't some mystic living in a cave in the Himalayas.
No, not at all. He's a retired principal and a high school physics teacher from Salur Junior College.
So a kid demanding scientific proof of God accidentally stumbles into a physics teacher for spiritual guidance. I mean, the alignment there is just incredible.
It's perfect. And it changes the entire trajectory of Murty's experiment. Because Murty is very upfront with him.
He doesn't hide his skepticism.
Exactly. He tells Ramarao, look, I'm not a man of faith. I cannot do this if it requires blind belief.
And the guru's response?
Instead of demanding surrender, the physics teacher guru validates the approach. He basically tells Murty, hey, a rationalist can absolutely achieve the highest states of consciousness without an ounce of blind faith.
Wow.
Yeah. The only caveat is that he says it'll take a rationalist longer.
Right, because the rationalist is going to constantly stop the experiment to, check the instruments and log the data.
Precisely. A rational mind demands proof for every single shift in perception.
Makes so much sense.
And the brilliance of the guru's response lies in the psychological framing. By defining spiritual longing as an objective, observable science, Ramarao gave Murty's skeptical mind the exact permission it needed to engage.
He bypassed the skepticism by turning it into the primary tool of investigation.
Exactly. He used the science against skepticism.
So if you commit to treating ancient yoga like a rigorous laboratory experiment, well, eventually the data starts pouring in.
And it does.
But the logs show that the data Murty starts collecting gets incredibly strange very quickly.
Oh, yeah. Things get really weird during this 3-week intensive yoga camp at Lawson's Bay Colony.
Right, the Lawson's Bay camp. This is where the theoretical stuff meets the actual physiology.
Exactly. Because after days of rigorous practice, Murty's sensory baseline begins to shift. He starts experiencing this phenomenon that the ancient texts call Anahata sabda,
which are the internal sounds. At first, Murty actually thinks there are real crickets chirping in his room.
Right, he's looking around for bugs.
Yeah. But then he realizes the sound is entirely internal, and he notes in his logs that these sounds are varying in specific tones and frequencies.
Which is just a profound neurological shift. I mean, the sound is completely inaudible to anyone else in the room.
But to his brain, it's real.
Yeah, to his auditory cortex, it's as real as a physical alarm clock. And it isn't just auditory data either.
Visual data starts manifesting too, right?
Exactly. During his sleep and in these meditative states, he logs these vivid, highly structured dreams. He's seeing pyramid-like structures and spiraling, interwoven energy flows.
So he's not dreaming of vague, cloudy concepts.
No. He is dreaming of complex geometries that he can articulate perfectly the second he wakes up.
Which puts a rationalist in a really tough spot because, the moment you start hearing invisible crickets and seeing glowing geometry, your scientific mind demands an explanation.
A rational explanation, yeah.
And he thinks he finds an outlet when an actual quantum physics professor from Andhra University visits the camp to give a lecture.
Oh, this interaction is so telling.
Yeah, Murty approaches him, shares these visions, and totally assumes the professor will find the data fascinating.
But it's a perfect encapsulation of modern scientific dogma, isn't it? The quantum physics professor completely shuts him down.
Just totally dismisses him.
Yeah, he tells the teenager that he is hallucinating, that he's probably just parroting concepts he read in
pop science books, right?
Exactly, books like the Tao of Physics. He summarily dismisses the entire subjective experience as just physiological nonsense.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here.
Go for it.
Like if an actual credentialed university-level quantum physicist tells you, hey, your brain is just misfiring and creating patterns out of static, isn't the most rational response to believe him?
It's a fair question.
Why should Murty or anyone listening to this trust a subjective feeling over the consensus of modern science?
Well, that tension between subjective experience and objective measurement is literally the core philosophical debate of Murty's logs.
Right.
When the professor dismisses him, Murty goes straight back to his guru. And Ramarao, the physics teacher, provides a counter-framework.
What does he say?
He tells Murty the spirals and pyramids are absolutely real, that they are the geometric, visual manifestations of Pythagorean theorems mapping the movement of Kundalini.
Which is the ancient term for the latent energy coiled at the base of the spine, right?
Exactly.
So the guru isn't saying ignore the science. He's saying you are experiencing the math from the inside.
That is the crucial distinction.
Yeah.
And to understand why Murty trusts this, we really have to look at the defense his guru points to in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras.
The sutras, right. That's essentially the foundational operating manual for yoga compiled thousands of years ago.
Right. And the sutras explicitly warn practitioners that the human mind can hallucinate. They demand intense caution.
Oh, so they're not just accepting everything blindly either.
Not at all. The philosophical argument they present is basically about peer review.
Peer review? How so?
Well, if thousands of practitioners, separated by centuries in geography, run the exact same physical and mental experiments.
Okay.
And they meticulously log the exact same internal sounds and geometric visions. At what point does that subjective data become objective reality?
Oh, wow. It's an ancient crowdsourced peer review system.
Exactly.
The yogis were just using their own nervous systems as the measuring instruments instead of external machines.
Exactly the point the logs make. So in a way, the modern professor's dismissal was actually unscientific.
Because he threw out the data without investigating it.
Right. Whereas the ancient tradition offered objective validation because Murty's quote-unquote hallucinations perfectly matched millennia of established, cross-referenced physiological responses.
That is wild. So after this massive paradigm shift, you'd expect Murty to, renounce the world, move to a cave, and just meditate forever.
You would think so, yeah.
But he does the exact opposite. If we follow the causality of his journey, validating that internal data means he now has to see if it survives the friction of the real world.
Right. The guru basically instructs him to go back to normal life.
Which is such a twist.
It is. But following a very traditional path of discipleship, Murty obeys his teacher unconditionally.
So what does he do?
He goes home, has his horoscope matched, gets married, opens a retail bookstore, and spends the next 20 years thoroughly entrenched in the mundane reality of running a business.
And chasing revenue. I mean, it's a 20-year retail hiatus.
And a huge pivot.
And the logs show his daily yoga practice absolutely craters during this time. He goes from meditating up to 14 hours a day down to just a single hour.
Right. However, the data reveals something astonishing about the nervous system here.
Tell me.
Despite that massive drop in active practice, the Anahata sabda, those internal high-frequency cricket sounds, they never stop.
Wait, really? Never?
Never. They continue humming in his head, uninterrupted, for 2 straight decades while he's literally ringing up customers and managing inventory.
That is mind-blowing. It's like an app running quietly in the background of your smartphone.
That's a great way to put it.
Like it's barely using any battery, you aren't actively looking at the screen, but it is always on, maintaining the baseline and gathering data.
Yeah, the technological analogy works really well because it speaks to infrastructure.
Infrastructure?
Yeah, when Murty spent those initial years pushing his system to the absolute limit, he physically rewired his neural pathways. He changed his physiological baseline.
So it just stayed that way.
Exactly. You don't have to consciously maintain a baseline once the infrastructure is built. The body holds the frequency.
And he actually uses the bookstore to slowly feed that system, right?
He does. He uses his purchasing power to order rare, highly esoteric texts on the fusion of modern science and ancient Indian yoga.
So he's essentially curating a highly specialized 2-decade education for himself while working retail.
Exactly. And I think this challenges the guilt so many people feel today.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we constantly beat ourselves up when our jobs or commutes or our families pull us away from our passions or self-improvement goals.
Right. We think a pause means we've failed.
Exactly. But Murty's logs prove that a pause is often just an integration phase.
For sure. If you build the foundation deeply enough, the work doesn't just evaporate because you get busy. It simmers.
The nervous system just needs time to normalize profound changes before it can, utilize them outward.
Perfectly said. And when Murty finally retires from the bookstore after 20 years, that internal hum is fully integrated.
Right. He decides he has the free time to start teaching meditation.
And this is where the internal experiment turns into an external broadcast.
Things get really sci-fi here. The phenomena he logs completely push the boundaries of biology.
Yeah, the logs shift here from personal observation to environmental interaction. Murty notes the emergence of what he calls biorhythmic syncing.
Biorhythmic syncing.
Right. As he begins teaching meditation, he realizes he isn't just verbally guiding his students. He is physically mirroring their internal states.
Like, he'll be sitting in meditation, suddenly feel a wave of deep restlessness, and later he'll ask a student, "Hey, why didn't you sleep last night?"
And the student is stunned because Murty is perfectly accurate.
At first, he assumes it's just heightened empathy, right?
He does. But because he's Murty, he systematically tests these sensations. And the data becomes incredibly granular.
Granular.
He senses their hunger, their exhaustion, and soon the exact physiological regions of their bodily pain.
Wow.
But the mechanism logged here is the most important part. When Murty senses their specific pain, whether it's a cold, a cough, or even severe anxiety, the pain in the student begins to dissipate.
Okay, we really need to unpack the mechanics of that, because reading a room's mood is one thing.
Sure.
Diagnosing a specific physical ailment without speaking is entirely different. The logs even detail a moment where Murty is standing in a supermarket aisle.
Oh, I love this story.
Right. He feels a sudden, sharp squeeze in his own heart, turns to a complete stranger next to him, and just asks, "Are you on heart medication?"
And the elderly man confirms it.
Yeah. I mean, how is this physically possible? Are we talking about extreme observational empathy here? Or is he acting like a human smartwatch reading physiological data?
According to his synthesis of ancient texts, the mechanism is rooted in a concept called Purna Yoga.
Purna Yoga, what is that?
It's the integration of multiple distinct yogic disciplines, mind, body, breath, and energy, all into a single unified system.
Okay.
So over 30 years, Murty had essentially turned his nervous system into a highly refined tuning fork. In physics, there's a concept called entrainment.
Oh, right. Pendulums and stuff.
Exactly. If you place a large, powerfully swinging pendulum on a wall next to a smaller, chaotic pendulum,
the sheer resonant frequency of the larger one will eventually force the smaller one to sync with its rhythm.
Exactly. So Murty is the larger pendulum.
That makes total sense.
Right. When a student or even a stranger with a discordant biological frequency like a kidney stone or extreme anxiety comes into his proximity, Murty's highly organized nervous system doesn't just read the discord.
It acts as a resonant baseline.
Yes, forcing the other person's system to entrain or sync to his healthier, calmer frequency.
Yeah.
That entrainment is what actually causes the pain to dissipate.
And the data shows he doesn't even need them to be meditating to do this.
No, not at all.
He syncs with them remotely over the phone. He syncs with them while he is wide awake, actively teaching them computer skills for work-from-home jobs at his Enter-Army VA Academy.
Yeah, and the logs show he approached this tuning with, absolute scientific rigor. He actually cross-referenced his syncing abilities with astrological data.
Wait, astrology? How does that fit into the science experiment?
Well, he wanted to find out who you resonated with easiest. So he defines the use of specific lognas, which are the exact astrological rising signs that dictate your physical body's orientation to the cosmos at the moment of birth.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. He logs that he syncs most effortlessly with hypersensitive water signs. Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces.
That's fascinating.
And his own physiological needs fundamentally altered, too.
Right.
He documents functioning with immense sustained energy on just 4 hours of sleep a night.
It is really the ultimate manifestation of his Project God.
Totally.
He didn't find some guy sitting on a cloud. He literally optimized his own biological machinery to interface with the unseen data of the people around him.
Exactly.
So what does a person do with that kind of profound high-level tuning? Where do you take that?
Well, he takes it to the single most chaotic, distracted demographic possible.
You go to teach kids.
Yeah. He moves to the Santi Ashram in the remote Thotapalli Hills. And this period is a really fascinating duality.
How so?
Well, on one hand, he's pushing his personal boundaries to an extreme. He logs this staggeringly difficult 144-hour continuous meditation in a bachelor hut on the hill.
Just to clarify, that is 6 straight days of unbroken concentration.
Which is just beyond human comprehension. But simultaneously, he volunteers to teach computer data entry skills to the local tribal children, the Koya kids.
Right. And he's doing this using 10 incredibly slow, outdated computers donated by Infosys.
Yeah, and the environment is just a logistical nightmare.
Right. The computers crash constantly because they are hooked up to a generator instead of a proper power grid.
There's zero internet.
Zero.
Yeah.
There's no cell signal. I read that if you wanted to make a phone call, you had to walk 3 kilometers up a dirt hill.
It is the ultimate test of an educator's focus.
Absolutely.
Murty notes in his logs that previous IT trainers, who were these well-meaning former students, they failed completely.
Oh, why?
They would download these dry science lectures and moralistic lessons, put them on the screens, and the Koya children would just be bored to tears.
Well, the difference between adults and kids is that adults have been conditioned to mask their boredom.
Right. An adult will sit in a seminar non-politely and daydream.
Exactly. A child demands immediate, visceral engagement.
And Murty recognized that immediately.
Yeah.
So rather than forcing a dry curriculum, he applied the mechanics of yoga to an IT class.
I love this part.
He didn't just teach them how to type, he taught them blindfolded touch typing.
And he didn't have them typing random sentences either. He had them typing out highly complex, ancient Sanskrit chants, like the Vishnu Sahasranama, flawlessly while totally blindfolded.
The mechanism behind this is brilliant.
Oh, it's genius.
By removing their visual input with the blindfolds, he eliminated environmental distractions.
Right.
By forcing them to process complex, rhythmic linguistic patterns, the Sanskrit chants, while simultaneously executing precise muscle memory on a keyboard.
He essentially forced their brains into dharana.
Yes. The yogic state of single-pointed concentration. The typing was really just the modern vehicle for ancient meditation techniques.
And he understood incentive structures perfectly, too.
Oh, yeah.
Because to reward them for achieving this intense focus, he openly broke the strict ashram rules. He downloaded commercial movies onto the hard drives.
And he didn't show them educational documentaries.
No. He showed these tribal children James Cameron's sci-fi epic, Avatar.
Which is amazing. The thematic resonance of Avatar for a tribal community is incredibly rich anyway. But more importantly, it shows Murty's complete lack of dogma.
He's using James Cameron's sci-fi to trick kids into achieving ancient yogic concentration levels.
Exactly. And the reason he knew exactly when to push them with Sanskrit and when to reward them with sci-fi comes right back to his biorhythmic tuning.
Ah, right.
He writes extensively about the necessity for a teacher to read visual clues, which was his pragmatic term for basically sensing the energy of the room.
Because his nervous system was so sensitive, he could literally feel the exact moment the kid's frequency shifted from focused to fatigued.
He didn't push through a lesson plan just because it was on the syllabus.
Right. He rode their wavelength, pivoting the lesson the millisecond he felt their attention wane.
And the results were empirical.
Yeah.
The local education department and the ashram officials were astounded. They officially noted that they hadn't seen this level of skill and engagement even in heavily funded corporate schools.
That's incredible.
Murty had proven that the ultimate educational tool wasn't a better computer. It was the biological sensitivity of the teacher.
It really is an incredible 30-year arc.
It's quite a journey.
I mean, we started with a skeptical 17-year-old demanding a KPI-driven scientific proof of God.
Right.
We followed him through a 20-year retail hiatus where his nervous system quietly maintained an energetic baseline.
Simmering in the background.
Exactly. And we end with a man capable of 144-hour meditation, a man who acts as a biological tuning fork to heal the pain of strangers, and who uses that profound empathy to teach blindfolded typing to tribal children.
It's almost hard to believe.
But he hit his 10-year deadline, not by abandoning the scientific method, but by turning his own body and mind into the ultimate laboratory.
Yeah, and I think it really challenges the way we interact with the world today.
Yes.
We live in an era obsessed with external measurement. We strap smartwatches to our wrists and rings to our fingers to track our sleep cycles, our heart rates, our stress levels.
We outsource our awareness to the hardware.
We do. We rely entirely on silicon and sensors to tell us what is happening inside ourselves. But Murty's meticulously logged journey suggests a radically different reality.
I'm listening.
We tend to think of empathy as a soft skill, right? Like a nice emotion to have in the workplace.
Sure.
But what if empathy is actually a measurable physical transfer of data?
Oh, wow.
If a human being, through rigorous systematic focus, can tune their nervous system to diagnose a heart condition across a grocery store aisle,
Right?
or perfectly read the cognitive fatigue of 20 children simultaneously,
Yeah.
it forces us to ask a really startling question.
Which is?
What kind of raw physiological data are we constantly broadcasting to each other every single day, completely unaware that anyone is capable of listening?
We are all transmitting. We just forgot how to build the receivers. What a phenomenal concept to leave on. Thank you to everyone for joining us on today's deep dive. Just remember, keep questioning the consensus, keep logging your own data, and most importantly, stay curious.